Well, the first thing that needs to be discussed is what is the most important to that individual. What is their most important need and their wants. So after that's out there, then the conversations held about the different type of facilities that are out there and the different type of services that can be provided to help with that. The best way to do it is definitely get all the family involved. Get as much family involved as possible, so it doesn't appear as if one family member is making the decision. And also too, what tends to happen in these situations is when you don't get the entire family involved, then that person will call cousin so and so and say, this is what they're trying to do to me, and then they'll call, aunt down the street, and try to talk about the being forced to do something. So I think the biggest thing is to get the family dynamics figured out, and then to get them all on the same page and working together. It's very important that you have those conversations. I've had that conversation. Of course, I'm in the field, but I've had it with my mother years ago. Of course, and then with my grandmother too, that suffered with Lou Gehrig's disease. But I think there has to be a designated person that kind of leads that conversation, but then the support of the rest of the family, to continue on with it. But I don't think it's ever too early per se to have that conversation, because believe me, your parent or your grandmother is already having that thought. Because when I talked to my mom about it, she was already thinking about it, and she was glad that I had that conversation and was glad that I was able to give her information, because let's face it, nobody ever really, it's a tough conversation to have. Sometimes too, it helps to take it in phases. Don't just all of a sudden, come in and say that this is what is going to be required of you. Take it in phases with them. How you start with driving, then from that point you go into, your health care coverage. You can, I did it with my parents. I said, I talked about what they have, Medicare or where they have managed care, and to look at what's the optimal plan for them, in later in life. So, and while they're still they're able to interact and be involved in that decision making. It also too goes back to those conversations prior to coming to an environment like this. I know that my mom and I have had that conversation, and she's very explicit in what her what her desires are for that. So I think that it's good to have those conversations with families prior to coming here, and then when they get here, we can help them with the actual paperwork. But there should be some sort of ideal when they come into a facility. Either I know mom's gonna want everything no matter what, or if she gets to this part of her life, then we don't want that. So again, it's a tough conversation, but it definitely needs to be held prior to coming.